Hey everyone, time to continue our countdown of the going through all the Quill albums in the Quill discography. Today we will focus on these two from 2006 in Triumph and from 2011 Full Circle. The two Quill albums I did not participate in the recording of, but I feel connected to them both, but in different ways, and I will sort of elaborate a little bit on that further on. Before we start, you know what to do. Make sure you subscribe, hit that little notice bell, and share with your friends as well. Well, last episode we were talking about Hooray's Death Trip album, and we ended somewhere around the Monster Magnet tour. And as soon as we got home, it was business as usual. We started writing new songs for a new album. We still had an album left on our contract with SPV Steamhammer. But by that time, I was getting a little bit tired. I had been working quite extensively over a couple of years. I had toured with Arch Enemy, recorded an album, and played a little bit with Firebird with Bill Steer from Carcass. I had done the Spiritual Beggars on Fire album and that tour as well, and we did this long Monster Magnet tour with the Quill and a couple of albums over a 3-year period. So I was getting a bit tired, and I also had became a father for the first time. I had a full-time job as a teacher, so it was a lot of stuff I was sort of juggling at the same time. But the other guys were really into it, and when we started writing and wrote what became most of the In Triumph album, I was there for most of the writing, and we actually recorded a demo at a studio just where we live, sort of just to show SPV Steamhammer what we were doing. We recorded Keep the Circle Whole. We did In the Shadows, and one track called Howl at the Moon that hasn't been released and wasn't on the album. And then it was time to sort of get into the recording phase of things, but by that time I was losing interest altogether. So we had to sit down, and after that I decided to bow out of the band. No hard feelings. We did a few shows. We did actually a special show in the town where we live with this orchestra called Camerata Nordica, and did a couple of school shows as well. It was really cool. They interpreted our songs and we played together and had this sort of string section thing like Metallica, but in Sweden. And then I said, wave goodbye. And I think by that time they had already decided on a new bass player, and it was a dear friend of mine called Robert Trickus. We're from the same town, him and I, and we actually had a punk band together around that time. We played all the punk classics. He was the guitarist and vocalist, and I was the bass player, and we had a couple of other guys in the band as well. So no hard feelings at all. It felt really good to sort of pass it on to a friend of mine. And after that, I sort of course, we didn't stay in touch that much afterwards, and they were doing their thing, and I started doing other stuff, playing a lot more locally here. But as I've sort of kept in touch with them anyway, what happened was they went down to Germany and found this producer guy called Tommy Newton, who produced Halloween. He did the Keeper of the Seven Keys albums. He did a bunch of UFO albums as well, and recorded this one In Triumph. And to me, it was really interesting when it came out, since I had sort of for the first time you get sort of an outside perspective of things, and I think it took me a while to listen to it, because it's sort of like you don't want to see your old girlfriend happy with the new guy in a way, but as I listened to it, and I listened to it today before doing this episode, it stands out in a way in the Quill discography. It's really, I think it's really the most sort of it's really produced, and we talked about it in the band. Tommy was the first time they really worked with a producer, in that sense that he was sort of really into how the songwriting stuff, parts of things, and for the previous albums we more or less decided everything ourselves, and maybe we'll get a few suggestions here and there from whoever we recorded with, but Tommy was really in charge for this one. And as I said, they recorded it in Germany, I think outside Hanover, some place. And listening to it, as I said, it sounds really. It's the most well-produced Quill album, I think, of all the albums. Great sound all together. But what it's lacking for me as an outsider, I sort of miss a little bit of the jam side of Quill. This is, as I said, more song oriented, and as I said, that's usually what a producer does. He sort of cut off all the fat, excess fat, and sort of focus on the songs, and you can hear that in this album. But I still think it's a great one. For some reason we haven't really played any of these songs since Magnus got back in the band, and it's not that I don't want to play them. I would be fine with that, and I think there's some. What I do remember is we played Broken Man, the video track, but with Magnus Arnar a couple of times, and that is a song I really like, and that was one that was written after I left the band, and I think it's really nice because it's a little bit different. And there's a couple of really strong tracks I really like. Black is cool. I really like Man in Mind as well. Keep the Circle Whole. And I think In the Shadows is cool as well. But I think the demo version with it actually is better. And it's not it just because I played on it, but it's quite different, the demo version from the album version. But who am I to judge? But still a cool album. Hasn't been. We get a lot of questions about this one getting re-released, and we're working on it, and it will probably happen sometime in the future. But we have to locate some master tapes, and we have to find some cool bonus tracks as well. As I said, we have 3 demo tracks that I played on, and there was one song that wasn't on the album that I think was really cool called Rock and Roll Might Be Dead. I think it was available online around the time the album was released. I think it was really catchy, but I can see why it didn't fit this one. But still a cool album. I really enjoy this one. And I have a couple of different versions of it as well. I collect all things Quill. This is the standard version. Here we have a promo CD as well. I have a photo of the guys there. I also have this one. This is a Russian re-release. This one hasn't been released on vinyl. Don't know why. We'll see whatever happens in the future, but not on vinyl yet. And the same goes for this one. The next one from 2011, the Full Circle album. And if In Triumph is different, this one is even more different, but mainly because there's a different voice. And around this, there was a few years when things were sort of, Jolle was playing with Hanoi Rocks, and everything was, as I've been told, sort of nothing really happening. But then they found Magnus on, I think it was on MySpace, and started working with him. And by that time we sort of, at least Jolle and me, had started reconnecting with each other, and I remember him playing me some stuff from this album before it was released, and I was really impressed by it. But it's sort of a different Quill. It's a lot, I'd say, a little bit catchier. The songs that you have, a couple of songs here like Black Star and Bring It On, and Sleeping with the Enemy is sort of classic Quill, but this Medicine as well. You can hear it's still the same band, but as I said, a different voice. It sort of changes the band quite a lot, and sort of the identity. But once it came out and I heard the full album, I was knocked. I really liked this one. I thought it was a great, some great songs on it. and sort of by that time, as I said, we had started reconnecting, and for whatever reasons, I don't know why, but things weren't working out between Robert and the other guys, and I was asked to join by the sort of tail end of the Full Circle touring spectacle. So I did the last sort of months of shows for this album and stepped back into the band again, which was in a way really easy, music wise. We knew each other from all the previous years, but as I said, it was also sort of a little bit of a different sort of a lot more accessible music to my ears. And it was great working with Magnus Arner, also a great singer and a great guy. Listening to it now, I think, as I said, there's still some great songs on this one, fantastic songs. It may be a little bit. Once again, you should maybe have left a couple of songs off the thing. I think there's a few ones that I think the album would have benefited if you would have left them out. But once again, that's just my opinion. But as I said, all those Bring It On, Medicine were great songs to play. Full Circle is really cool as well. You can hear that sort of Krille's fondness for Monster Magnet. You can hear that in that riff, I think. But a great album, and so far I think this is the only version ever released of it. It hasn't been released on vinyl either, and it's really strange. The only two albums never available on vinyl are the two ones I didn't play on, but that's just pure coincidence and nothing more than that. And hopefully both in Triumph and Full Circle will see vinyl releases somewhere down the line. And as I said, they were really cool songs to play from this album. It was, I don't know much about sort of the recording. I know they did that a bit up north in Sweden in Magnus Arner's hometown. And I really haven't heard any stories about it, but still a cool album. If you haven't heard it, check it out. Well, I hope that it's kind of difficult to sort of talk about albums. As I said, I feel connected to in Triumph in a sense, in that way that I was there for writing quite a few of the songs. I didn't sort of, as I was losing interest, I was more or less there playing bass, but I saw a couple of those, or a bunch of those songs sort of come to life. But Robert did a fantastic job on bass on both these two albums, and as I said, we're still dear friends. So it's really cool. It's cool to have the experience of seeing a band that you've been in for such a long time and sort of take a step back and enjoy and see what they do without you. And I went and saw both incarnations, both with Magnus Ekvall on vocals and Robert on bass, and with Magnus Arner and Robert on bass as well. And the first time was really weird. I remember that. As I said, sort of seeing your old girlfriend being happy with someone else. But after a few, I think I saw the last show Magnus Ekvall did as well before he left the band. And by that time, it was sort of not hard feelings, but sort of things have run its course, I believe. And as I said, we were Magnus Arner a couple of times as well. So interesting experience for sure. Well, that's about it. Next time we'll talk about the comeback album I did, and we did one album with Magnus Arner on vocals called Tiger Blood, but that's for the next episode. I'm planning on releasing that I think on Sunday. We have to work quickly here if we will, so we can finish this before our 30th anniversary show coming up on Thursday. It's just 1 week away. And I just came back from building the exhibition. We had a great time. This is going to be so fun to sort of show everyone all the stuff we found. And for all of you who will not have the opportunity to visit it, I will sort of try to film some stuff and post it here on YouTube, so you can get the chance to see it as well, because there's tons of cool stuff to be shown. But make sure you follow us on social media so you don't miss out. It's TheQuillSweden, TheQuillSweden. And if you're living nearby, make sure you come and see us next Thursday. It's gonna be so much fun, so many cool guests, and we're gonna take we're gonna dig into all the Quill albums and play a lot of cool stuff we haven't played in a long time. So if you're anywhere near, make sure you come and see us. And until Sunday, have a great time, and I'll see you next time. We'll talk about Tiger Blood. That's it for now. Cheers. Bye.